Today our topic is the dark side of pleasure, Stoic insights. Pleasure is something everyone wants. It feels good, and we naturally seek it. But the Stoics, ancient philosophers who lived thousands of years ago, warned us about the dark side of pleasure. They believed that chasing pleasure too much could lead to problems in life. This might sound strange because pleasure seems so harmless. But let's dive deeper into this idea and see what we can learn. First, let's talk about what pleasure really is. Pleasure is a feeling of happiness or satisfaction. It comes from things like eating delicious food, watching a favorite show, or spending time with friends. These things are not bad in themselves. The problem starts when we rely too much on them for our happiness. The Stoics believe that if we depend on external things for joy, we will never be truly free. Why? Because these things are not under our control. Food can run out, shows can end, and friends can leave. If we tie our happiness to these things, we will always feel unstable. The Stoics taught that real happiness comes from within. It comes from our own thoughts, actions, and character. They believed in focusing on what we can control, like our attitude and how we respond to life's challenges. This is a powerful idea, because it means we don't have to wait for good things to happen to feel good. We can choose to be content right now, no matter what is happening around us. Now, let's think about the dark side of pleasure. When we chase pleasure too much, we can become slaves to it. For example, imagine someone who loves eating sweets. At first, it's just a treat now and then. But over time, they start eating more and more. They might start craving sweets all the time. This craving can take over their life. They might start ignoring healthier foods or even skip meals just to eat sweets. This is an example of how pleasure can turn into a problem. What started as something enjoyable becomes a source of suffering. The Stoics called this kind of behavior overindulgence. Overindulgence means going too far with something that feels good. It's like drinking too much water. Water is good for you, but if you drink too much, it can make you sick. The same is true for pleasure. Too much of it can harm us. The Stoics warned that overindulgence weakens our self-control. It makes us dependent on external things, and this dependency can lead to frustration and unhappiness. Another problem with chasing pleasure is that it can distract us from what really matters. Life is not just about feeling good. It's also about growing, learning, and contributing to the world. If we spend all our time seeking pleasure, we might miss out on these deeper experiences. For example, imagine someone who spends hours every day playing video games. They might feel happy in the moment, but over time, they might realize they haven't done anything meaningful. They might feel empty or regretful. The Stoics believed that true fulfillment comes from living a meaningful life, not just a pleasurable one. So, what can we do to avoid the dark side of pleasure? The Stoics gave us some practical advice. First, they said we should practice moderation. Moderation means finding a balance. It means enjoying pleasure, but not letting it control us. For example, it's okay to eat sweets sometimes, but we shouldn't let them take over our diet. It's okay to watch TV, but we shouldn't spend all day on the couch. Moderation helps us enjoy life without falling into the trap of overindulgence. Second, the Stoics taught us to focus on what we can control. As I mentioned earlier, real happiness comes from within. We can't control everything that happens to us, but we can control how we respond. For example, if something bad happens, we can choose to stay calm and look for solutions instead of getting upset. This mindset gives us power. It helps us stay strong no matter what life throws at us. Third, the Stoics encouraged us to live with purpose. They believed that everyone has a role to play in the world. Finding and fulfilling that role brings deep satisfaction. Purpose gives our lives meaning. It helps us see beyond temporary pleasures and focus on what really matters. For example, someone might find purpose in helping others, creating art, or building a business. These things might not always be pleasurable, but they bring a sense of fulfillment that lasts. Now, let's talk about how to apply these Stoic ideas in everyday life. One way is to practice gratitude. Gratitude means being thankful for what we have. When we focus on the good things in our lives, we feel less need to chase after more pleasure. For example, instead of always wanting the latest phone or the newest clothes, we can appreciate what we already have. This doesn't mean we should never want anything new, but it helps us avoid the trap of always wanting more. Another way to apply Stoic ideas is to reflect on our actions. At the end of each day, we can ask ourselves questions like, did I act with moderation today? Did I focus on what I can control? Did I live with purpose? This reflection helps us stay on track. It reminds us of our values and goals. It also helps us learn from our mistakes and do better next time. The Stoics also believed in facing challenges bravely. They saw challenges as opportunities to grow. When we face difficulties, we can choose to see them as tests of our character. For example, if we fail at something, instead of feeling sorry for ourselves, we can ask, what can I learn from this? How can I improve? This attitude turns setbacks into stepping stones. It helps us become stronger and wiser. Finally, the Stoics taught us to remember that nothing lasts forever. Pleasure, pain, success, failure, these are all temporary. By remembering this, we can avoid getting too attached to pleasure or too upset by pain. We can enjoy the good times without clinging to them, and we can endure the hard times without losing hope. This mindset brings peace and stability. In conclusion, the dark side of pleasure is real, but we can avoid it by following Stoic wisdom. By practicing moderation, focusing on what we can control, living with purpose, and facing challenges bravely, we can find true happiness and fulfillment. The Stoics remind us that life is not just about feeling good. It's about becoming the best version of ourselves and making a positive impact on the world. So let's take their advice to heart. Let's enjoy life's pleasures but not let them control us. Let's focus on what really matters and live with purpose and courage. In doing so, we can overcome the dark side of pleasure and find lasting peace and joy.